Let's go. Let's go. I'm loving the new intro, guys. If you're paying attention and looking, and you better be. You better be paying attention. You better be
The
looking
nice
at this.
touch.
This is a serious intro for a serious podcast. Thank you very much, Roger, for putting this together. This is legit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Fab, and I'm joined as always with Raj and Nacc. And today we are diving deep into the tight end position. Pause for the 2026 fantasy football season. We haven't had a pause in a while. I thought it was a good one. And so, guys, please pull up a chair. We got 30 minutes of therapeutic draft mapping ahead. There's a joke in there somewhere for Deshaun Watson. I'm gonna leave it out though. I'm gonna leave it out. But for real though, honestly, the tight end position like has never been in a better place, in my opinion. Like it's super super deep. We talk about it very often. It's younger, it's more athletic, it's more diverse than ever. And you have your traditional tight ends that really do all of the stuff. Like you have your traditional receiving tight ends, and then you have the ones that are just tight ends in name only, right? Like they go by what's it called now? They go by Tinos. Is that what the
Tinos.
kids are calling them? Tight ends in name only. So the guys like your Kyle Pitts and Kyle Pitts Senior, excuse me, and your Randy Gatson the second. So those guys are just more of your wide receivers with like eligible tight end numbers on them. So that's sort of what we're going to be going through right now. Like the tier system that we're going to have in this episode is going to go through really these different types of tight end architects, if you will, different types of fantasy profiles, and knowing which one you should be drafting and why. But before we begin, quick plug: if you miss our post hype sleeper breakdown episode and the offenses that we trust and fade, both are in the description and available to download, to watch, to stream, to share, and all that fun stuff. So please, please, please follow us on excuse me, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We drop content, like we said, we drop content every single week, and we answer all of your pre-draft questions because the draft season's here, guys. It's right around the corner. Like training camp is days away, and we're all very very excited. And none of us are losing our job here, unlike the people at the ESPN and NFL Network. So we're
Oh
going to be
my
here for
god.
the ride. It's like what
Oh,
is
you got
that?
to pay McAfee.
Wait,
Got to
There it
check the
is.
salary.
There it is. I got yeah, well, that's Ryan
we're
Clark's
not getting
salary.
paid for this?
Um, we're getting paid in love and admiration from
There
our
you go.
fans.
There
That's
you
what it
go.
There
is.
we
This is
go.
this is a thankless job. Anyways, enough of that. So 5 tiers, plenty of hot takes as usual, and strict no blockers allowed policy. We're gonna kick it off with Nacc tier 1. Take it away.
Tier one, yes. So we call this tier the elite tier. Obviously, not the biggest tier out there, and it's pretty self-explanatory. But these are the ones you draft with complete confidence. You build your roster around them, but you also pay the price. So we have consensus between us. This is we just to explain to the fans here. We each ranked. We each did a ranking, and we took our consensus ranking here all together. So consensus, we have Trey McBride as the number one rated tight end. So locked in alpha, who caught everything in sight, playing behind. Um, playing from behind, excuse me, all season in Arizona. He is the locked and loaded tight end one here, guys. And then we've got Brock Bowers. 2 years ago, he was the most hyped TD prospect in a generation. And last year, obviously, was injury riddled. Now he gets Kirk Cousins, potentially Fernando Mendoza, and Kubiak as the OC. So the ceiling is definitely back. We're expecting big things from Brock Bowers. But as I said, these are the type of guys that you're going to have to pick up either late second round or early third. Sometimes people get crazy and one of these guys will go late first round.
Especially in Bush League
These are
every year.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh
We
yeah.
love us some
exactly.
tight
Every
ends.
year
Yeah.
someone always goes for these monsters. Look, you're paying the price, but you are getting some value. I mean some of us will definitely disagree and we could have a huge discussion on that, but um I don't know. For me, Raj, I ask you. I mean, for me, Bowers is the tight end number one this year, and it's not really close, especially with that QB situation going on there in Arizona. Uh, the Raiders seem to have fixed the situation. I'm okay with Cousins starting, and then maybe Mendoza coming in, but the talent was always there with McBride, and he's being drafted like he plays on like a great offense. When Arizona has about what's the win total at 4.5 wins total, and the QB room right now, Brissett and so am I wrong? Are the people just drafting McBride on autopilot?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had McBride number one because of what he did last year. Like, look, I know Brissett has a contract situation, but it sounds like that's going to get done sometime soon. So he gets paid at least like somewhat of a market value as he's going to be a starting quarterback and not just a backup quarterback. I think another big thing is not a lot of people are talking about this, but if you look at the Cardinals' early season schedule, it is absolutely brutal. They faced the Chargers in week one, the Seahawks in week two, the 49ers in week three, the Giants week four, Lions week five, Rams week six, Broncos week seven, week eight, Cowboy. Like I could go on and on. Like it is an insane schedule, which is why their win total is so low. And we saw what McBride did and Brissett did and Michael Wilson did when they were playing from behind. And according to the schedule, they will be playing from behind a lot this year. And look, I do like the fact that they brought in Matt LaFleur. Mike LaFleur, excuse me, Matt LaFleur's brother. He came from the Rams. I think they're gonna, bring that Shanahan style offense. I think it's gonna free him up. I think it's gonna allow McBride to further eat, and he's just been a target monster in Arizona. So either way, I think you're splitting hairs between this. If you went Bowers one, that's fine. If you went McBride one, that's more than fine as well. But I'm kind of leaning in on the fact that tough schedule, and they're going to be playing from behind literally every single game. And there's proof of concept of how good they were doing that last year.
Lots of garbage time points coming from
100%.
Arizona this year. Lots of garbage time points. Raj, if you want to keep this train moving with tier 2, tier 1 was very short and sweet, but those are definitely your lock and loaded stars.
Yes, thanks, Nacc. So this second tier is the set it and forget it tier. So these are guys that high confidence starters with clear paths to volume. Draft them, start them, stop thinking about it. So at tight end 3 now in the first in the tier 2, we have Colston Loveland. So he averaged 16.5 points per game in the playoffs. He steps into a potential alpha role with DJ Moore gone to Buffalo. We saw the further chemistry developing between him and Caleb Williams as the season went on. Then at tight end 4, again, these are composite rankings, a combination of all three of us. So tight end 4, we have Tucker Kraft. So he averaged tight end 4 numbers before his injury last season. Fab actually had him as his tier 1 tight end. No one else had Tucker Kraft as a tier 1 tight end except for Fab. So that's something maybe we could explore after. At tight end 5, we had Harold Fannin Jr., elite talent, very, very strong rookie year. He's walking to the worst fantasy environment in the league, or one of the worst in the league, with a QB situation that isn't currently settled, but he had a very, very, very strong rookie year. Then we have 6, Tyler Warren, tight end 6, Tyler Warren. He averaged tight end 6 numbers before Jones went down, but he only got relegated to tight end 26 after Jones was down, and then the offense with the Colts is sputtering a little bit. So the talent is real. I think the QB is the question on that front. And then at tight end 7, we have Kyle Pitts. He finished as the tight end number 2 last year. I've been very critical of Kyle Pitts in the past. I think he finally redeemed himself. I'm the only one who's fading him into tier 3. A big part of that is due to the lack of touchdowns, but either way, I think he's pretty much a set it and forget it tight end in this tier. Fab. Pitts finished tight end 2 last year, and the market has him going as the tight end 7, so around 69th overall, which feels like a discount. I also think Warren is a bit of a trap at 66, considering Daniel Jones, considering the injury history with Daniel Jones, considering how he faded last year and the Colts collapse. So do you trust any of these guys as true weekly anchors, or are we all just hoping here?
Well, I definitely trust Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts has earned your trust. I think at this point in his career, this is 5 seasons in, he's played a full slate of games in every single season except for one in his sophomore year. His touchdowns have only increased year over year over year, albeit small margins, but still. Last year, he had 900 yards and had like 125 targets for 90 receptions or something like that. He's a focal point of the offense. He is. And I think at this point now, like Kyle Pitts deserves a little bit of weekly trust on a day in, day out basis. And he did finish as tight end 2 last year. Am I expecting the same numbers to replicate? No. But then again, rewind 12 months ago, I wasn't expecting him to finish tight end 2 last time either. You know what I mean? So I think it's still a very functional offense from a tight end perspective. I think Kyle Pitts and, Kevin Stefanski being there now, it's going to be very interesting too. And you saw what they did with Harold Fannin Jr. last year as well, right? So it's very, very tight end friendly. So I don't see why, like Nacc has him ranked as tight end 5. That's a good spot for me too. Like I was a little bit maybe cheaper at tight end 7, but you can't go wrong. Kyle Pitts is a weekly starter in my opinion. I don't even think it's up for debate anymore.
I think it's the good season, bad season, good season, bad season trend with Pitts. I think to your point, we talked about the Falcons last week. Zach Robinson's coming in. He runs a ton of 2 tight end sets last year with who is he? Sorry, no, not Zach Rob. No, it's going to be Tommy Reese. It's going to be Tommy Reese. But again, coming with the Kyle Stefanski offense, he also the Browns ran the most 2 tight end sets last year. So they're going to feature Kyle Pitts a lot. I don't know who the backup tight end is. And another thing we talked about is just the wide receiver room. It's going to be Drake London, Jahan Dotson, and Olamide Zaccheaus. It's going to be very empty. So, Fab, before we move on, I just want to get your take on Tucker Kraft. What was your case for him being a tier 1 tight end?
Well, we spoke about it last week on our offenses to fade. And I think one of the questions was, is it the wide receiver room a socialistic wide receiver room like it always is? And the answer is yeah, because the wide receiver 1 is Tucker Kraft, and the guy was putting up bonkers numbers in the first 2 months of the season last year, and he's the only guy, in my opinion, that deserves to be in the same sentence, in the same phrase, in the same tier as Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. And you saw it last year too. The guy at the very beginning of the season, and I know like it's a very small sample size, but he was Jordan Love's go-to guy. He had super deep average depth of target. He had great touchdown numbers. He had great reception numbers. He was the motor in the offense. And it's just really unfortunate that he had the injury that he did. You'd assume that he comes back to full strength at the beginning of the season. I think that's yet to be determined right now. We're still very early out from training camps and everything. But for me, Tucker Kraft, like I have him ranked as 3rd. You guys have him as 4. The market has him at 6. If he's there for me at that spot, like if people are scared of drafting him and he drops a little bit, hey, let's go. Your garbage is my treasure, So that's how I see Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, hard to argue, and I think the infrastructure there. Like I think a lot of times we complicate things with regards to fantasy, but if you factor in the QB is still very solid. Say what you will about Jordan Love, very solid. The play caller is good. The infrastructure is good. There's a running back. I think this is it makes a ton of sense on that front, Fab. We'll move on to tier 3. Fab, lead the way for tier 3, please.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. So tier 3 startable. So these are your viable weekly starters with the real question mark attached to them. Health situation or target share. So just know what you're getting into, right? So the first guy we're going to start off with is the most likeliest of candidates, Mr. Isaiah Likely. So he is now playing for the New York Giants. And so Mark Andrews is gone. He's still in Baltimore. It's more Isaiah Likely's gone. But so Andrews is not there anymore. Likely is now full-time with the Giants in a Matt Nagy system that historically targets tight ends 29% of passes, which is a nice chunk. So full-time role for this first time in his career is very encouraging. Ranked at 9 is Travis Kelce, who finished as tight end 3 last year. So he still continues to defy father time, it seems. The market has him as tight end 10 at 95th overall, which is just crazy considering the guy finished as tight end 3 last year. Roger actually has him ranked 13th. It drops him into tier 4. So the biggest individual fade on the board. Roger has a thing against Taylor Swift, and I guess Travis Kelce is just,
he hates
actually don't.
Travis Kelce.
Actually don't. I'm really
just
starting to like her
Kelce.
music.
I'm kidding.
I'm really starting to like her music.
I'm kidding. Everyone does as they get older. It's funny.
He's a saint.
Sam LaPorta, Bush League Huddle rank number 10. So he finished as tight end 3 as a rookie, Sammy the Door, at a tight end 8 in 2024, and just 9 games in 2025. So the new OC Petzing historically feeds tight end, and so this could be interesting over there too. The tight end market has him ranked as tight end 8. And George Kittle, man, this is probably Tight End University's very own and the most, like, we can say well-rounded tight end of the entire tight end ranking. I think we can all agree on that. Tore his Achilles in the wild card round against the Eagles. The talent is elite, but the health is the only reason why anyone's fading him. But according to him, he'll be ready for week 1, which is miraculous. The guy just tore his Achilles in the wild card. So just watch camp reports very, very closely. So, Nacc, just going to throw it out there. Kelce finished as tight end 3 last year, and the market has him going 95th overall and has him ranked as tight end 10. Rog has completely written them off, as you just mentioned, and someone I think he might eat his words later on in the season. Mahomes is coming back motivated, and Kelce at that price could be the steal of the draft, in my opinion. But on the flip side, Isaiah Likely is going 75th overall, but the market has him ranked as tight end 13. So the market is massively undervaluing him, in my opinion, from a ranking perspective. And you have LaPorta in tier 4, where he's going 96 overall. And the market has him ranked as tight end 8 with a new OC who loves feeding tight ends. So do you fade Travis Kelce, or do you buy the opportunities that exist?
For me, it's going to come down to ceiling versus value. And Kelce, out of all the guys we just mentioned here, I think is the safest bet of the group. Everyone seems to be assuming that he's washed, but like you just said, he finished as tight end 3 last year in his year 35 season or 36 season. And now you're getting him around the 95th pick. I mean, if he gives you one more vintage season with Mahomes, like that's league winning value. Even if he finishes top 5, like we were just saying a few pods ago how like Harold Fannin Jr.'s numbers were like off the charts, but he went 72 for 731 and 6 touchdowns. Travis Kelce went 76 for 851 and 5 touchdowns. Yes, he's a rookie, but we were like crowning this guy, and you're comparing these numbers to tight ends that are going above him and just slightly behind him, and I think everyone is just they're really, really, really devaluing big time. If you're getting Travis Kelce at pick 95, that is league winner potential for set. Now, that said, if I'm swinging for upside, it's Isaiah Likely. He's finally getting the chance to be the unquestioned starter, and in an offense that has, like you mentioned, historically featured, tight ends, and the real path for him finishing above his tight end 13 ADP. So it's definitely the kind of profile that I'm going to bet on. And LaPorta, like, look, LaPorta is a buy for me too, but people seem to forget how dominant, like we said, he was in his rookie season, because last season was, interrupted by injuries. But a new coordinator that, like you said, and has a track record of involving tight ends, it adds a little bit of optimism. So I'm definitely not fading Kelce, and I think it's, like I said, it's one of the best values at the position. And if I'm planting my flag on a player that can dramatically outperform where he's being drafted, it's definitely Likely. But look, let's just say Kelce offers the floor, Likely offers a ceiling, and LaPorta sits somewhere in the middle of that. So with a realistic chance to bounce back.
Can I
Yeah.
can I
Sir, go ahead.
counter can I counter quickly? It's not that I have Travis Kelce hate. It's just I look through his game log. There's about 5, 6 games where he barely crosses 5 fantasy points, right? Like, look, it's normal. He's older. Mahomes wasn't there for what is it, like the last few games of the season, I believe. But still, to me, he looked slow. He looked old. We talked about in the last episode for our fade offenses, the Chiefs offense, it just feels very, very stale. They haven't really brought any new concepts or new innovations, which I think that's where I really agree with your point, Nacc. Like, I'd much rather go for the upside play, even some of the upside plays in the next year that we're going to talk about, over a Travis Kelce personally.
Sure. I'm just like, for me, the way I look at it as, he doesn't need the money, obviously. He just married a billionaire. And he probably has to know that his team is not championship caliber. So, like, why come back if you think you couldn't do it? Like, he's got to know that he doesn't have a realistic shot at winning this year. So that's what gives me the optimism to say, if I'm getting him at the 95th pick as tight end 10 or 13, like, I'm grabbing that every day of the week.
Yeah, I really agree with Nacc on this one there. I think the value associated to Travis Kelce right now is just bonkers, because you can even argue that Travis Kelce's floor won't be much lower than Isaiah Likely's ceiling. And the only reason I say that is because, and that's not a knock on Isaiah Likely, it's because Travis Kelce has been tight end 1, or at worst tight end 3, for the last 10 years. This guy's getting 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns every other year. And only now we're starting to see him fall off And the numbers he's falling off with, in quotation marks, are the higher end numbers that you would get from most of these guys that are ranked in around the middle to the end of this tier, right? So you're getting bona fide like mid-tier tight end numbers, like 10 and 5, 10 and 6 for like tight end 10 value. I think it's huge. And again, like no knock on Isaiah Likely, but this is the ceiling for Kelce for me is the floor for Kelce for me is way safer than the ceiling of Isaiah Likely. And this is coming from a Giants fan. But with that being said, we are going to move it on to tier 4. Nacc, I think this is your tier to take care of.
That's me, baby. So they're tier 4. It's solid flex. They're useful in deeper leagues. Upside exists, but the floor is really inconsistent. It's really stream. I wouldn't anchor towards them. At number 12, we've got Mark Andrews. Declan Doyle arrives as the OC after running the Chicago offense last year, which used the 6th highest 2 tight end set rate in the NFL. Excuse me. So Andrews is the 3rd option behind Lamar and Henry. But if the scheme fits, they re-signed him. They've got to see something good in this guy, right? They re-signed him to that massive deal when everyone thought they were crazy.
Yeah.
Number 13, we've got Dalton Kincaid. It led all the tight ends in yards per route last season. The efficiency is elite, but he consistently keeps him out of the conversation. The inconsistency, keeps him out of the conversation. Also was very injured last year as well. So getting that tag dropped on him. 14, we've got Dallas Goedert. I have him actually dropped down to tier 5, but Eli Stowers is coming in, and the age regression is definitely real. At number 15, we've got Jake Ferguson. So the Cowboys are the number 1 fantasy environment per Draft Sharks, and the situation does keep him relevant. Although when Lamb and Pickens were both on the field, Jake Ferguson did take a back seat last year. And then rounding out tier 4, we've got at number 16, Oronde Gadsden II, 18.4 points per game over a 4-game stretch last season. Market has him, at tight end 16 at 121st overall. Roger has him in tier 3. Nacc has him. Myself has him in tier 5. So that's the biggest gap on the board. And then Njoku also signed with the Chargers, which is one thing keeping his price suppressed. So now, Raj, I ask you, hot take on Gaston at tight end 16 and 121st overall. Clearly, it's going to be the steal of the entire tight end draft. McDaniel's never had a tight end at this athletic before. Obviously, forget Jonnu Smith. And Njoku signing is a little bit of a smokescreen. He's more of a blocker, not really big pass catcher. But I definitely want you to defend your Goedert pick there at tight end 14 and 117th overall in tier 4 when I have them down in tier 5. Stores is coming up for his targets, and I think it's one of the most dangerous names on the roster this year. So who are you buying and who are you fading?
Yeah, so I have to defend the Gadsden. I had him at 10th. I talked about it, I think, early on in the offseason where Mike McDaniel is coming in as offensive coordinator. When he was offensive coordinator and Jonnu Smith was the tight end with Miami, Jonnu Smith was tight end for 88 catches, 884 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was absolutely electric. And I could see Gadsden, the same type of move tight end who can, tight end in name only. He'll play a little bit in line, but he'll line up at wide receiver. And McDaniel will play a ton of 2 tight end sets. So it'll allow for some huge matchup exploitations for them. So I'm very, very high on Gadsden. And as you mentioned, 18 points per game over the four-game stretch last year was cut due to injuries. And I know, look, Njoku has had some history as being a relatively good pass-catching tight end, but I really think they brought him in more for blocking. He's a decent block. He's not one of the most elite blockers, but I think he's coming more as a blocking tight end. For Dallas Goedert, for me, it's more like, I know he had 11 touchdowns last year. For me, the Eli Stowers draft pick, I'm a bit concerned about that. I know there's a new offense coordinator, Sean Mannion. So we'll see on that front. But for me, it's more the fact that they drafted a tight end, and I believe Stowers in the 2nd round. He's more of the Tino tight end in name only, where they're going to use him more as like another wide receiver, another slot type of player. But I don't know. I think Goddard last year of contract, definitely is not going to be back next year. There was some words that he might not even be back this year. They finally re-signed them. I don't know. I just think that they're going to want to get more Mekhi Lemon involved. They're going to want to get obviously Devontae Smith really involved, and I think Stour is going to eat into what Goddard does.
Agreed. I'll agree. I guess you backed it up pretty well. I mean, I'm definitely scared on Goddard. That's 100%. Gadsden, it's I'll take your word for it. I'll definitely and honestly, they didn't really sign. They lost Keenan Allen. They didn't really sign anyone else to come in. So maybe he is a sneaky good late draft play. That will do it for tier 4. Raj, let's keep this party rolling. Excuse me, with the tier 5.
Yeah, so tier 5s, these are the streamers. So late round darts and waiver wire targets. So the situation has to be right before you roster these guys. So at tight end 17, we have Brenton Strange. Nacc has him at 15th in tier 4. Nobody else really agrees, but Liam Combs offense in Jacksonville, I think it creates a role worth watching. Tight end 18, you have Juwan Johnson. So in Kellen Moore's system, obviously we saw Tyler Shuck emerge late last season. He's going to be, I think Juwan Johnson's going to be a solid streamer and had a sneaky good year with 77 catches and 800 yards. Then you have Chig Okonkwo at tight end 19. My guy Chig, 50 plus catches, 3 straight seasons. He steps into the Zach Ertz role, and we've talked about this, but the Commanders really didn't add anyone in the offseason aside from Okonkwo. So that leads me to really think that he is finally primed for his breakout season. At tight end 20, we have AJ Barner. So Barner was a really big revelation. He went from about 30 catches, 245 yards, and 4 touchdowns to 54, 52, 519, and 6, and a Super Bowl touchdown. The new OC, Brian Fleury, is concerned with Clint Kubiak gone, but I think he can be the second, or at the very least, third option in Seattle. At tight end 21, we have Dalton Schultz. Elite weapons around him. We talked about it last week. The O-line is better. Jaden Higgins, Xavier Hutchinson, Tank Dell may be back. Jalen Noel. Nacc has him as 18th, tight end 18th. Fab actually has him at 23. The rookie Kenyon Sadiq looks like a cyborg, first rookie out of Oregon who looks like he was built in the lab. The Jets ecosystem is brutal, but there could be opportunity for him with Geno Smith. He's going as tight end 21st and 135th overall in terms of market. We have the Enigma, which is tight end 23 with Hunter Henry. So McDaniels historically does feature tight ends, but with A.J. Brown drawing coverage, Drake Mayer year 2, the market has him tight end 17 at 126 overall. And then it rounds out with tight end 24, T.J. Hawkinson, tight end 25, Gunnar Helm. And we didn't really rank him because we wanted to only top 25 tight ends, but I think Pratt Freiermuth is going to be an interesting one to look at with Mike McCarthy at the helm. Mike McCarthy offenses have always featured the tight ends, so it'll be interesting to see if Freiermuth could carve out a bigger role as well as Darnell Washington. So Fab, I want to ask you, Okonkwo going tight end 20 at 138th overall. You guys know I'm very bullish about him. I think he finishes as a top 12 tight end. Jaden Daniels, is already calling him his favorite target, and he has caught 50 plus passes 3 straight years. Is this the most obvious late round dart on the board? And make the case for why Sadiq at tight end 21 and 135th overall is worth rostering on one of the worst offenses in football.
It's absolutely the most obvious late round pick on the board. I do want to just shout out to Juwan Johnson because having 800 yards and 7 touchdowns and finishing as tight end 8 last year, and the guy's being ranked right now as tight end 18, or the market has him as a tight end 19, I think it's absolutely bonkers in my opinion. But then again, you think about the whole offensive ecosystem that exists there, and they drafted that wide receiver. So you would imagine there's a little bit less to go around for Juwan Johnson in the Saints offense, but he's another guy too that I think he's a little bit more respect. But yeah, Chig Okonkwo, like easily. Like it's for all the reasons that we've mentioned in the last few episodes where the Commanders have done nothing to help their offense. They've done nothing to help Jaden Daniels apart from get Chig. And Chig is a very good tight end, and he's a very good pass catching tight end. And I think there's a serious opportunity for him and a serious path for him to have weekly streaming appeal but also to be like a weekly starter as well too. Like depending on who you have as your other, like let's say you draft I don't know, say you draft Travis Kelce and he gets injured and Chig is your second tight end, right? Well, you can slot Chig in up until Travis Kelce comes back, and it's as if nothing's gonna like you're not missing all that much. So I think there's a lot of respect needs to be put on Chig's name at tight end 20. And to make the case for Kenyon Sadiq, so Geno Smith, if he does one thing well, it's he throws the ball. He throws it a lot.
To the
Jets,
opponent?
a little bit to the opponent, but also to his players as well. Jets don't have a
Or his
horrible
girlfriend.
or his girlfriend. Jesus, wow, that's well done. Comedic timing. That's your forte. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so the Jets don't have a horrible offensive line, very much middle of the pack. So I think a little bit better than what he dealt with in Oakland last year. Sorry, in Las Vegas last year. So, and he is a phenom in the sense that, like you mentioned, he built in a lab and all that stuff. And they drafted a lot of pass catchers, the Jets, right? So I don't know how much is going to be able to go around. And there's still Garrett Wilson that really commands a lot of targets too. So it's Kenyon Sadiq going as tight end 21 for me. He won't finish much higher. I think he'll have some weekly streaming appeals, but it's going to be tough to trust on a weekly basis. But I do think that there is some opportunity for him to be in somebody's roster. And I think he is worth a flyer towards the very end of the rounds, just because he does have that high upside fantasy appeal from a tight end perspective. And if you look at all the other guys that are ranked over here, like I'm sorry, Brenton Strange doesn't interest me. AJ Barner,
Yeah, same.
okay. AJ Barner, cool, nice story, but Dalton Schultz doesn't interest me. Hunter Henry, you're gonna draft him so you can start him that one game of the year that he goes off. Like we said it several times. TJ Hawkinson, he is a relic of the past, unfortunately. I think we can all move on from TJ, as much as the guy was great for Detroit and good for a few seasons with the Vikings. Gunnar Helm, I've never heard of him. So like all of these players over here, like out of all of them that you heard, it's like, you know what? I would rather take a flyer on Kenny Sadiq. And this is obviously as my tight end 2. If you're drafting Kenny Sadiq as your tight end 1, you better have a monster roster.
So can we double click on Strange? Because I think Fab, Nacc, you were way higher on Strange than Fab and I. You had him as tight end 15. Fab had him at 20. I had him at 19. So maybe make the case, Nacc, why you had Strange a bit higher than us.
Yeah, look, I think besides maybe Kenyon Sadiq, I think he's the best athlete out of this bunch. Even go back to his Penn State tape, like he was a freak athlete. And it's really like it's not about what he's done, but it's the situation he's in right now. Liam Cohen has consistently found ways to get the tight ends involved, and I think Strange he's definitely the full-time guy at the tight end. So I think at tight end 15, I'm betting on him. I'm betting on the increased volume and the breakout rather than chasing a player that we've seen peak. Like this is a guy that was injured last year. He had all that potential coming in, and he battled injuries, quad, hip, so he was never really right over there. And it seems that Trevor Lawrence with Cohen has finally figured it out, and I think now coming with Liam Cohen figured it out. So now they're going to have another season under their belt, another off season. So I think we were going to see a breakout year from Brenton Strange, 100%.
Yeah, just to add on that, Nacc did bring up a very good point. Like he was injured for a period of the time last year, and he came back and played objectively better than how he played in the beginning of the season when he was healthy before he got injured. So, yeah, like I mean, I don't want to poo-poo on Brenton Strange altogether, but it's just that, like, I'm ready to miss me a little bit on this, and I'd rather chase the upside elsewhere. That's sort of where I'm at right now.
I think I agree with Nacc. The talent's there. I think maybe what concerns me is more there's a lot of mouths to feed in Jacksonville. And I think everyone's forgetting about Travis Hunter this summer, rightfully so. But it doesn't sound like it sounds like he's going to play more.
Isn't he playing more defense?
He's going to play more defense, but it sounds like he's still going to play some wide receiver, which I think is unfortunate. But I don't think they have a choice. Like you trade that much draft capital because you assume that player is going to play 2 positions. You have to give it a shot to try to get him at 2 positions. So, I think that'll do it for us. That's all 5 tiers. We kind of went through those relatively quickly, but it was just to kind of give an understanding, a high-level view of the tight end position. I think, Fab, you said it very well. The position is in very good hands. More and more teams are running 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets even. So I think we're going to see more and more tight ends be a focal point in fantasy lineup. So that's it for us. Next week, we're going to dive into QB tiers. So follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Send us any questions you have on the pre-draft process. We're going to be locked and loaded on pre-draft content in the coming weeks. So stick to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. For Nacc and Fab, I'm Raj, and we will see you next time.
Woo!
Bye.